Hey everyone! Just wanted to come on here to give you your lesson for the week as we continue studying Macbeth. So Macbeth actually has 5 acts altogether. We last week were wrapping up Act 4. This week and next we're venturing into Act 5. So a couple of things I want to backtrack on is for Act 4 as I'm going through grades and grading things for last week. I want to make sure that you have some things settled. So what I'm going to do is you will see under this, in this assignment, in this folder, you will see a picture that I took of the board when I was drawing the character map all the way in Act 1. Act 2, I think, is when I started drawing it. So all it has on that character map is all the characters, who they are, and it does have some of the connections between relationships. And then it has Macbeth having killed the king, King Duncan. So you need to go in and draw that map yourself because for most of you, you were drawing it in class and it's probably in the classroom in your notebook. If you have it, then great, you can continue to work from there. So this week and next week, you'll continue to add to that character map. For example, the map that I'm uploading doesn't even have the fact that Macbeth hired assassins to kill his best friend, Banquo, and his son. And instead, his son got away. Banquo is dead, so you need to put on there that Banquo is dead as well. Duncan is dead, Banquo is dead. That, you know, he was the assassin, so you need to use the arrows and the little knives that we use and maybe little X's on the eyes to show that that person is dead or just cross them out. So you need to add that. And then, of course, you need to add what takes place in Act 4. I'm not going to give you all the details because I'm still grading some of that for you, for the quizzes that you took last week on, by Friday. And so there was another death or deaths, multiple deaths in Act 4. And so you need to put who died in Act 4 and then the arrows of who was the cause or what happened. Okay, so do add that to Act 4. But for now, what I want to do is go ahead and preview Act 5. So one thing that's really important from Act 4, if you didn't get it, besides who dies, is the fact that in Act 4, you have the last scene with the witches. You should be taking notes, so this is something that you can add to your notes, and it'll help as you watch the videos that I've assigned for you this week. Okay, so in Act 4, you get the scene with the witches where there are 4 new prophecies. So it's really important that you go back and read the summaries that I gave you for last week and that you're sure what those 4 prophecies are. Because now, just like we saw from Act 1, when we had the initial prophecies about Banquo and Macbeth, now we have these additional prophecies. And in Act 5, it's all about analyzing how Macbeth has internalized those prophecies, what he thinks that means for him. Is it good? Is it bad? And do we begin to see in Act 5 the fruition of those prophecies? Do we see those things starting to come true? So go back to your summaries, look at what the 4 are, jot down those 4, and as you're looking at the summaries, this time I gave you video summaries for each act with 2 or 3 questions per that scene. I gave you scene 1, scene 3, 4, and 5. So I gave you 4 scenes. We're going to study through scene 5 this week, and then next week we'll get into the last scenes and we will end the play. So when you're looking at scene 1, what's going to stand out is something that I do want to share with you today. I do want to read that portion of text. You're only getting these videos that I shared with you are super short. So you're only getting a little short summary of what took place. So I'm going to read for you the actual text of one of the most famous parts of Macbeth. Like we studied, Macbeth is full, this play, this tragedy by Shakespeare is full of what made Shakespeare famous in his early plays, which was soliloquies. That is different than a monologue. In a monologue, you're speaking by yourself. There might be other people on set, and it might just be a long period of time that you're talking, but other people are listening. In a soliloquy, it's more introspective. It's you speaking out loud what your thoughts are so the audience can hear. It's interesting with Lady Macbeth because with Lady Macbeth, in scene 1 of Act 5, it's actually a little bit of both. There are other people on the set. There is the doctor, which is in your character chart, so you can see how the doctor correlates with the other characters. The doctor's there and a gentlewoman, it says. A gentlewoman calls a doctor to see Lady Macbeth because the gentlewoman is concerned. The gentlewoman is like one of her maids, one of her helpers. And she calls the doctor and says, you got to see what's going on with Lady Macbeth. And then Lady Macbeth speaks in a soliloquy form, having her own thoughts by herself as the doctor and gentlewoman see and discuss what the heck is she talking about. So those little bits of information, not very long, I'm going to read it for you right now, that Lady Macbeth says, like the very first soliloquy that Macbeth has, or second soliloquy that he has when he's talking about Banquo's ghost, or when he's talking about the blood on his hands, he was scared when he killed King Duncan and he felt guilty, kind of mirrors that in this time period, because now we have Lady Macbeth in Act 5 sounding very different than what she has before. So as you're studying Act 5, I want you to take a close look, and that's some of the questions that I gave you have to do with characterization. What's so important in Macbeth is not just the crazy amount of action that's taking place and all the violence, and I'm like, yeah, all the bodies hit the floor in Macbeth, but besides that, there's all these character arches. You see characters go through both external and internal conflicts that causes changes in them. And so I'll ask about that. So let me read for you what Lady Macbeth does. This speech, this monologue, or kind of like a soliloquy that Lady Macbeth has in scene 1 of Act 5 of Macbeth is a very famous acting scene. A lot of women who are serious actresses, like I told you, with men and women who are serious actors, they at some point, if they're going to be serious actors of stage, they're going to study Shakespeare and they're going to take on these roles. And so this particular soliloquy / monologue by Lady Macbeth is certainly one of them. So here we go. Lady Macbeth says, so the gentlewoman calls a doctor and she says, she's walking around kind of like she's sleepwalking in her nightgown. And she says, yet here's a spot. And then the doctor's watching and Lady Macbeth says, out, damn spot, out, I say. 1, 2, why then? 'Tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier afeard. What need we fear? Who knows it when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have so much blood? The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? But will these hands ne'er be clean? No more all that, Lord, no more all that more, all that this starting. Here's the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh. Wash your hands, put on your nightgown. Look, not so pale, I tell you yet again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out on his grave. To bed. To bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come, come, come. Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed. And that's about it. So in those few lines in between there, the doctor actually says, Hark, what is she saying? And gentlewoman's like, I told you, she's not talking to anybody. And then they notice certain things. They notice the fact that she says Banquo was dead. They notice, of course, that she's talking about blood that cannot be cleansed, that she can't get the blood off of her hands, and that she says we need to get out of here, and the hell is murky, and it's probably coming for them, and we can't undo this. She'll never be clean. So the monologue is very interesting. It's full of analogy and metaphors, and I think you get them right away. What the blood represents, how she cannot seem to wash her hands of it. So you see that guilt and you see that remorse, and you see all that in Lady Macbeth, of all people, the same woman who gave a quite different monologue in Act 1 when she talked about how strong she was and how she would kill her own child in order to get what she wanted. So this is a very, very different tale, and she walks off again, kind of talking to the air or talking to ghosts or talking to blood that obviously is not even there. So use that also as you watch the summaries for Act 5 and answer the questions. And on Thursday, I think I scheduled, we'll have a Q&A conference just to see how everything is going with your assignments. Have a great week. Bye.